to introduce our first general session speaker, Ms. Amanda Sabicer, and she's going to share, as you see in the agenda, some very interesting thoughts about what her organization is doing and how we work together through this Energize California. Amanda has a tremendous background. I'm not going to go through it all. I think some of it's in the program, but I think once you hear her speak and at some of her thoughts, you're going to be pretty impressed. So please, Amanda, come on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We host a lot of events at our facility in downtown LA. We have never had a cheer team come out and start and kick off an event, so note taken. We got to kind of kick it up a notch a little. Well, I'm waiting for my PowerPoint to start.
All right. Okay. I think that was a terrific tee up. Thank you, Councilmember Hilton, for where did you go? There you are. Thank you so much. I think you really summarized a lot of what's been going on in this sector, both from a regulatory and state level, even international level, down to what's happening here on the ground. So I feel like this is a nice flow into what I'm going to talk about today. So before I begin speaking, how many people here are from a municipality? Raise your hand. Excellent. Okay. How many people here are from a university? Okay, great. How many people here represent somebody with a startup or a technology trying to get out in the marketplace? That's okay. Keep it strong. I like that. Good. Okay. How many people here are from the private sector, which is kind of everybody else? Who did I miss?
Nonprofits.
Nonprofits? Yeah. Community-based organizations, nonprofits, advocacy. Excellent. I have to raise my own hand for that. Hello, I missed myself. Excellent. So what is that a testament to? It takes a village to make this stuff happen. You can't just have nonprofits. You can't just have technology. You can't just have universities and research and innovation. You need everybody to be collaborating and working together. And you'll see what I talked through my deck today, my presentation today, you're going to see how much we really embrace that and we believe that and we try to execute on that through our work at the Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator. So my name is Amanda Sabicer. I'm the VP of Energize California, which is an energy sector focused initiative that's run out of the Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator. And I'm going to tell you the tale of two innovation tales. I'll begin with the first one, which is the tale of Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator. We were formed in 2011 as an economic development initiative out of the city of LA with the goal of creating an inclusive green economy. So you say, why is the city of LA and LA Department of Water and Power and what used to exist in the good old days, CRA LA, Community Redevelopment Agency of Los Angeles, why are those three organizations getting together to create an independent nonprofit that they do not have direct control over to focus on building the clean tech sector in downtown LA? Well, if you know anything about the economics of our region, you know that aerospace and defense has been a major factor, a major element of our local economy. And you also then probably know that it's been on decline for many years. So the region was losing jobs. However, the region, California in general, graduates the highest number of science PhDs in the nation. It has major logistical support and infrastructure here. The two ports together import 40% of our nation's goods. And it has one of the largest manufacturing sectors of the nation, over 500,000 jobs, more than Michigan. So if you know that aerospace and defense is leaving, how do you leverage those assets to turn them into something else that can help support our economy? And that's where they landed with Cleantech. They said Cleantech can leverage all of these regional assets and bring in new jobs. Part of the story is that from the beginning we were embedded with LA Department of Water and Power. Second question, why would LA Department of Water and Power be interested in the incubator? Because they need technology. Why do they need technology? Because there are new regulatory and legislative and even ratepayer-based mandates and demands and questions and concerns coming. In California, if you know anything about California, we're a reputation being fairly progressive. That's reflected in our regulatory environment, it's reflected in our legislative environment, it's even reflected in our consumer purchasing habits. How many of you remember when the Prius went to the Oscars? Remember that? Why did they do it in Hollywood? Oh, that's right. We make things happen. We change and shape people's minds. And it's here in California. All right, so these three agencies came together. They created Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator back in 2011. And with the incubator, we have, since we were formed in 2011, we've helped over 65 companies raise over $130 million and create over 1,200 new jobs. How do we do that? We run an incubator where we support early stage companies. We commit to them for a 5-year term to help support them and get them through the valley of death, for those who are familiar with that term. And we give them access to business and technical resources that they need to succeed, and access to an executive in residence. All those things are wonderful, but that alone does not work because you also need to connect those people to the people that will be buying their products or to new talent and so forth. So there's a lot of ecosystem work that we do on top of everything else. And this brings me to sort of the second tale of innovation. That's the first tale. The second tale of innovation is what was happening at a federal and state level. So the federal government, the Department of Energy, after spending years and years and years investing in R&D, and purely in R&D, realized about 5 or 6 years ago that all that investment, a very, very small percentage of it was getting to market. Why was that? Because having a technology without a business model is a paperweight. Oh, you need somebody to run a business. So they realized this and they started investing in some infrastructure around the nation to help support other clean energy, clean tech companies, or incubators like ours, to help support companies. The state of California saw this and said, wow, we want to change our economy. We want more of this technology out of the marketplace, and look what the federal government did, and if they can do it, we can do it, and we'll do it better. Because that's what we do in California, right? So they got together at the California Energy Commission and they said, we have also been spending lots of time and energy and money on R&D, and here's the opportunity that we see. We see this investment that we put in stalling again at the moment when it's time to bring that technology to market and commercialize it. So we're going to divide up the state into 4 groups, 4 what they're calling 4 clusters, regional energy innovation clusters. And they said, we're going to put this out to bid. There's one in the Bay Area, there's one in Central Valley, the sister CSU, Fresno, won that one. Anyone who's familiar with the Wet Center, fantastic team. And one in Los Angeles, and one in San Diego. And Cal State San Diego is part of that bid as well. We won the Los Angeles regional bid. And the CSU 5 are key partners in this project. So what the state said is, we need you guys to be on the ground helping to support the ecosystem. We want you to do 2 things. We want you to help identify and support startups, and we want you to connect ecosystem players, the universities, the business services, the technical services, financial support, investors, etc. So we launched our program, which we in our region. So if you know somebody who's a clean energy company or startup, please connect them with us. We'd like to talk to them. Through this program, our Innovators program, it's a free 12-month program for folks who fall within one of those clean energy technology areas I talked about earlier. And it's a very light touch version of what we do with our incubator. We don't make the same level of commitment because we want to sort of support these companies by giving them a platform and access to a wide variety of services across our region. So leveraging what our region already has. And there are two ways to get involved in our work at a more tactical level. The Energize California Network, where we have lots and lots of events at our site in downtown LA, as well as regionally in Orange, Ventura, and Santa Barbara counties, and then the Innovators program. Okay, let's talk about today. So, most people here, I'm assuming, know what a disadvantaged community is, but in case, let's just make sure we're all sort of understanding. This is a word that's used a lot in Sacramento. It's not how I think about myself and my community. It's probably not how you wake up in the morning and you're like, wow, I'm in a disadvantaged community. Like, no, it's not our identity. It's a label that's given to us by Sacramento to articulate that there are certain communities that bear the burden disproportionately compared to others. And so how do you quantify that? Well, what they did is they created a database by census tract, calovirus screen, and you can see it looks a little wonky because it's them playing with census tracts, but you can sort of get a general sense of where some of the problem areas are. And what they're doing in Sacramento, which the council member alluded to earlier, is they're now prioritizing projects in those regions, in those areas. And that's to spark improvement in our environment and also spark economic activity, hopefully. So, not only giving us a tool to identify what a disadvantaged community is, but then they're also trying to come up with some programs to address it. So you can see just a high-level list of a few things here, everything from an advisory group to helping multifamily affordable housing buildings get solar roofs, green tariff, shared renewables, single-family affordable solar homes, etc. What's at the bottom, which is interesting, is the California Energy Commission recently released an SB 350 barriers report, where they started saying, okay, we know what the vision looks like, and we know that in these disadvantaged communities there's some extra burden to try to implement and deploy these technologies. Let's try to hone in on exactly what those challenges are. So I'm going to give you a little tip, is that often when you talk to people about buying a new product, they will tell you that the biggest hurdle is the cost. And if you assume that the biggest hurdle is the cost, you will assume that the biggest and best solution is money. Now, how many of you were aware that we have incentives for electric vehicles? Okay, good. So they're doing their job. That's good. Does that match up with the number of people who either have or wanted to buy an electric vehicle? You raised your hand earlier. All right, I was the only one standing up here, so I can tell you that it didn't. So what's the reason why somebody is choosing to buy an electric vehicle or not? We have to talk about it. We have to go a little bit deeper because this touches on deeper stuff other than just money. We are rational beings, but when we make decisions, purchasing decisions on where you live, what kind of car you drive, that touches at a deeper level more about identity or other challenges in your life. So I'm going to give you an example. I have 3 kids. The last car I bought was in 2012. I will say that there weren't as many EV options back in 2012 as there are today, so my choice might be different. But as much as I am an environmentalist, and as much as this is my day-to-day job, and I love this, and I take Metrolink to work, and I cycle to work, and I try to walk the walk as much as I can, I bought a Honda Pilot in 2017. Why? Because I had 3 kids and 3 car seats that needed to fit in the back. And that was literally the only car that we could do it, other than a minivan, which my husband would not let us buy. Why? He's not a minivan kind of guy. I didn't care. This is the problem. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about in terms of challenges. And you cannot regulate your way out of an identity crisis. So here are the goals. This is our mission, should you choose to accept it, which I have. We need to cut our GHG emissions, and we need to get more zero-emission vehicles on the road. And we need to make them more accessible, especially in disadvantaged communities. Why? Because that's where the highest burden is. Target the canary in the coal mine, and you will help solve the problem more quickly. There are some solutions out there, and some folks who are experimenting with different ideas. Blue LA is one of them. It's a 100% electric car sharing service launching in LA this year. They're targeting about 100 shared electric vehicles at 40 plus self-service locations. There's some funding that's been put behind it, including CARB, pricing and membership model. You can see it's not even about the car anymore, it's about where does it live, is it shared, where do you locate those sites, what's the power that needs to be run to those sites, what's the membership model. The technology has been here for years. Anyone seen the electric car movie? Who was blanking on the name? Who lost the electric car? Who killed the electric car? That's more gruesome, right? That was like in the 90s. This is not new technology. Our problem is not technology. Our problem is adoption and deployment, which leads us to thinking through new business models, thinking through how we think about ourselves. So my goal, before I switch to our next topic, is that one day we all wake up, and just like athletes have to train and visualize the race, in the Olympics for days and days and days and months and months and months before they go to the Olympics, they imagine themselves on the starting block, getting ready to, dive in the water, what it feels like, the sprint, what it feels like when they win. I want us to do that every morning when we get up, and we imagine clicking on the garage door opener, watching it go up, seeing our EV sit there, finish charging, get into our car. What if we all imagined that was our life? We would have a really different perspective on all of our purchasing decisions, because suddenly we're going to say, hey, I'm the kind of person who gets an EV. So the question is, how do we get the city of Carson residents to say, I'm the kind of person who gets an EV? I'm the kind of person who rides the bike to work. I'm the kind of person who gets a solar panel. The second big push, one of many, is energy efficiency in the built environment. Why is the built environment so important? Transportation is a huge fossil fuel hog. Another huge energy hog. You talk to anybody at the Department of Energy or the California Energy Commission, they will talk about how our buildings use about 40% of our energy. Yikes! Anything we can do to become more energy efficient in our buildings has a huge impact on the demand. So, on top of all of that, we know that in many disadvantaged communities, there are often folks who have a hard time paying their bills. So there's an additional incentive to try to solve this problem while also helping people financially. So there's another, I just talked about the SB 350 low-income barrier study earlier. There's some structural challenges and some policy challenges. But there's some folks who are doing some interesting work at trying to address those challenges. And you look here at the example of the Chumash, the Chumash Community Energy Program. They're a tribal community in Santa Ynez, so they're in Santa Barbara County. Their program launched in 2011. They got funding from the EPA. And they combined jobs training, energy audits, installations, and retrofits into a program that yielded tangible results. So it is possible. So listen, the work that I do, I spend a lot of time talking to universities, I spend a lot of time talking to regulators and utilities and the ports, Metro Link, all these people. At the end of the day, it's people like you sitting in this room that have to make a purchase decision that sends the market signal to say we are serious about the change. So the way we'd like to run this next, and then I'm going to turn the mic over to Mike, is we're going to host 2 listening sessions, all right? Because I've talked about how we've invested in technology, and I've talked about how we've invested in the ecosystem to support entrepreneurs who are going to bring that technology to market. What's the missing piece is that people like you and the people like in Carson and other communities who need to embrace the technology. And there's no quick way of doing this other than we gotta go out and ask you. What are your thoughts? What are your experiences? What do you need? So we're gonna do 2 listening sessions, one in this room, one next door. I'll let Mike tee it up. The big question for me is, to you, which one do you want to talk about? You want to talk about cars? You want to talk about housing? And I want you to bring yourself and your professional life and your mental network of all the people that you know into this conversation. Let's make it real, let's make it tangible. Because I spend my time giving the feedback that we hear here up the chain to state agencies and federal agencies to give them an idea of what they should be doing differently and how they should be funneling those dollars. So to clarify, and I want to be clear because I know the council member was alluding to this, our program isn't about giving grants, we're about trying to streamline and get the technology to market as quickly as we can. And our partnership with the CSU5 is an incredible blessing because if nothing else, the CSUs have done an amazing job of integrating themselves and partnering with their local communities. And that's why we're so excited to be here today in Carson at CSU Unicus Hills to talk about all of this with you guys and learn from you. There's a reason why we won the bid and not the big research universities. It's because we don't need more research on these topics. We need deployment, we need voices, we need inclusion. So I'm going to rely on you, and we're going to turn the microphone over to you guys for the next 45 minutes or so. And thank you very much.